Please, lend me money for the hospital bills.
As I opened the front door, there was Simon, painfully dragging her swollen leg. Simon is just 6 years old, and it must have been quite a distance from his home to here. Faced with this grave situation, I was too flustered to do anything.
No way. I absolutely won't lend you any.
Suddenly, the usually reticent George shouted angrily. At George's harsh response, a look of despair crossed Simon's face. Then George tried to grab Simon's leg, which was stained dark red. At 60, having finished raising my children, I was leading a tranquil life. Now at 66, I continue to work, living a laid-back life with my husband George. Fo is a man of few words. We rarely talk to each other, and although neither of us is particularly chatty, there is no tense atmosphere between us. In fact, I find it calming. We have one son. Serving in the military, by the age of 35, he was promoted to lieutenant commander. That year, at a community party at the base, he met and married Tracy. My son, Daniel, who went to an all-boys school and wasn't much around women, was absolutely smitten with his young wife, and they were soon blessed with a child. Time flies, and before you know it, Simon, their child, was already a 6-year-old ready for first grade. But Tracy and Simon had become the source of my worries. Daniel's rank is among the officers. His salary is quite good, but his job keeps him so busy that he only makes it home a few times a year. As a result, Simon spends most of his time with his mother, Tracy. Since Tracy's parents lives far away, my husband and I, concerned for them, would visit about once a week. However, that was only until Simon started kindergarten. From then on, Tracy began to act increasingly strange. According to her, Simon wasn't very sturdy health-wise, and Tracy started restricting Simon's outings, diet, and contact with people because of his health concerns. Our chances to see Simon gradually decreased, and soon it was only on special occasions like birthdays or Christmas. Whenever we did see Simon, he always seemed to be injured or feeling unwell. Simon, what happened to this injury, and that eye patch?
He bumped into a friend at kindergarten. The other one is a sty. Please don't touch it, it hurts her.
Simon is a child of few words. Or rather, it seems like Tracy avoids letting me talk to Simon. Tracy appears to be a very calm woman at first glance, but when it comes to Simon, she's like a different person. Simon, here's a pencil for you. You like those superhero shows, right? What was it? Use it when you start elementary school.
Janet. He doesn't like that stuff anymore.
But he still talks about it sometimes, right? He was just drawing them the other day.
I don't let him watch those anymore. All that fighting and defeating, what if Simon imitates it and gets hurt again?
If we ever try to give Simon something without consulting her, Tracy explodes in anger. Being told about the allergy, I was surprised when scolded over just a box of pencils, especially considering it wasn't even related to his health.
The poor Simon had another episode at kindergarten. Seems he forgot his medicine.
That must have been tough. Here's a little something. but George and I thought you might need some financial help. It's hard to get out, right? Let me know what you need when I go shopping."
Thank you. That's so kind, isn't it, Simon? Let's say thank you to Grandma and Grandpa.
On the other hand, when we offer financial help like this and make sure to ask beforehand, the gratitude is overwhelming. The sudden shifts in Tracy's behavior were a bit frightening. Since Daniel is mostly away due to work, raising a needy child alone in a new place must be tough. I understood her becoming overprotective, but it felt like it was too much. I really should get more involved with them. Thinking this, I picked up the phone and called Tracy. "Tracy, listen, Simon is starting elementary school next year, and I wanted to celebrate that."
Thank you. In that case, please go for a backpack.
"Oh, right. Should we go pick one out together?"
No, Simon and I will choose it. I'll let you know the price once we've decided. Bye now.
I had more to say, but as if the matter was settled, she rattled off and ended the conversation.
You never learns.
The rare times you do talk, what's with that tone? I couldn't help but let out an irritated voice, even though I knew it wasn't George's fault. "Tracy, honestly, I don't know about this. It sounds like she's just asking for money, and knowing her, I feel like she won't let Simon choose. It's for him to use after all."
It's fine. Everyone has their own parenting style. Simon's upbringing is their business as a couple. If you interfere too much, you'll just get scolded.
I was just worried about Simon, but to George and Tracy, I might have seemed like a meddling grandmother. But maybe George has a point. Maybe just giving money is the best way to handle this. Being a mother-in-law and interfering too much with my daughter-in-law, who's struggling with parenting alone far from home, might not be a good idea. Reconsidering, I maintained a suitable distance from Tracy and Simon. That was until that incident happened. On a bitterly cold early winter night, the doorbell rang unexpectedly at midnight. Wondering who it could be at such a late hour, I opened the door and was shocked by the sight. "Simon, what are you doing here?" There stood Simon, looking like he could collapse any moment. His clothes were dirty in places, he was wearing only one shoe, and he had a very tired look on his face. But what surprised me the most was his left foot, swollen from the toes to the ankle. He must have taken off his shoe because the swelling made it too painful to wear. His foot was visibly larger than usual, stained with bruises, clearly not in a condition to walk properly. "What on earth happened to you? Where's your mom?" I asked frantically.
I need to go to the hospital. Please lend me some money."
Simon didn't answer my question, but simply murmured softly. After that, his responses were all the same, no matter what I asked. Considering it takes an hour even for an adult to walk from Simon's house 2 hours, if he walked all this way, it must be serious.
No, I absolutely won't lend the money.
In my surprise, as I fumbled for what to do next, George's voice suddenly came from behind. Turning around, he was staring straight at Simon, with his arms crossed. "George, why would you say that?" At George's harsh response, Simon's face fell into despair, and he looked like he might start crying at any moment.
If you've got time to fuss, why don't you let him in the house?
George said this and quickly picked up Simon, taking him into the room. Having never seen George shout before, Simon was obviously frightened and began to cry loudly.
Keep quiet.
And then, to my horror, George, who had lost his temper, pinned down the crying Simon and tried to grab his severely swollen foot. "George, don't be rough, he's just a child. It's different for adults."
Bring some ice water. And get the tape.
After we administered first aid to Simon, we rushed to the emergency hospital. Actually, George is a chiropractor, and we run an chiropractic clinic together. According to George, he could tell right away that it was a fracture, even without an examination. When he got an X-ray at the hospital, sure enough, Simon had a fractured leg.
Because he kept walking even after it broke, the condition is quite severe. There might be permanent damage.
When the doctor told us, I inadvertently gasped and covered my mouth. Simon had to be hospitalized for treatment. So much had happened all at once, it felt like my head was about to explode, but I couldn't afford to stay confused. Once the painkillers worked and Simon calmed down, I tried to appear as composed as possible and looked at him. "Simon, why did you walk here alone so late at night? When did you get hurt?" But Simon, usually a quiet child and perhaps shocked, didn't reply at all.
Should we contact your mom for now?
Caught off guard and forgetting what I should prioritize, I was jolted by George's reminder. I had completely forgotten to contact Tracy. However, when George reached for his cell phone, Simon suddenly grabbed his hand, stopping him from calling his mother.
Please don't tell Mom.
With a voice louder than I could have imagined from him, Simon began to plead. Something was off about Simon. Without saying a word, both George and I instantly felt it. "Understood. We'll do as you say, Simon. So, can you talk to us, your grandparents?" With a gentle voice, Simon finally started to speak.
I had a fight with Mom. Then she got angry and pushed me down the stairs.
"What? Tracy did that, and then?"
My foot started turning red and it hurt, but Mom went to sleep, so I ran away. I wanted to go to the hospital by myself, but I didn't have any money.
I was so shocked that I couldn't speak. At the same time, distrust towards Tracy surged within me. Moreover, Simon was trembling slightly and curling up as he spoke. This fear, I don't think he's lying, but... George and I decided not to contact Tracy for the time being. If what Simon was saying was true, we couldn't just send him back to his mother. Yet, at that moment, I also felt guilty. Should I really take the word of a 6-year-old and separate him from his mother? Could Tracy, who cared so much for her child, really have hurt him? With these questions swirling in my head, I spent a restless night. Tracy eventually contacted us the next morning. She must have realized her child was missing when she woke up. Her voice through the phone sounded very frantic. "He hasn't come here. That was all I said before ending the call. I tried to be careful with my words, but not being used to lying. She might have suspected something. Just to be safe, I asked the hospital to restrict visits to just George and me. Refusing all visits, did we really do the right thing? I feel like we're being cruel to Tracy. I expressed my concerns to George, but he didn't respond. I wish he could say something comforting in times like this. I fought to myself, but since he's always been a man of few words, I swallowed my words. During Simon's hospital stay, we took turns staying with him.
There's something concerning.
A doctor said this and led us to a private room. The doctor asked us, I have heard from Simon that he has multiple asthma and allergy conditions, and it's true. I replied that according to what I heard from Tracy, that seems to be the case.
We'd like to run some tests.
The doctor said with a peculiar expression, so I agreed. When I was informed of the test results, any guilt I had been feeling for Tracy instantly vanished. At the same time, my resolve to protect Simon turned into certainty. Soon after, the police came to our home. Apparently, Tracy had reported us, suspecting that the grandparents might be involved since her child was missing. We complied with the police's request to come in for questioning. After we answered all the police's questions and explained our side, they let us return home quickly. Then, Tracy began incessantly demanding, "Give Simon back." Somehow, she had figured out that we were involved. To avoid a home assault until we were ready, we spent a few days at a different location without contacting Tracy. We also consulted with some people and received help gathering evidence. When the time seemed right, I called Tracy. If you're ready to admit what you did and make amends, come to our house.
So it was you, Janet, who took away my Simon. I will never forgive you.
She hung up abruptly and soon arrived at our home.
Where is Simon? Give me back my son.
As soon as she arrived, Tracy began yelling furiously. Thinking she would only find me and George at home, Tracy was surprised and momentarily puzzled to see her own parents.
Why are my parents here? What's going on?
When I told them how you treated Simon, they came. Tracy, not expecting her parents to know, gritted her teeth. Her parents looked at her with cold eyes. Simon is in a safe place. We can't give a child back to a mother who can't discuss things calmly. I said this in a calm voice, and realizing that getting angry was futile, Tracy quieted down a bit. You understand why this is happening, don't you? We first explained how Simon came to our home and checked if what he told us was true.
I would never push Simon. That child just lies so easily.
Tracy, unapologetic and visibly irritated, crossed her arms.
It's his fault. He wanted to eat cake at a friend's birthday party, despite his allergies to eggs and wheat.
That's your reason. You hurt him over that.
No. He ran out of the house on his own. I tried to stop him. He must have fallen somewhere because he felt guilty about getting hurt and didn't come back.
As she spoke, Tracy started to tear up.
He's fragile, and I need to protect him. Why are you interfering when I just want to protect my child?
To outsiders, it might look like we are ganging up to discredit a devoted mother.
He has allergies and illnesses. And I don't even know where he eats or what he's eating. He might have an attack. Do you know how hard that is?
Tracy glared at me with tear-filled eyes. However, I couldn't let my emotions get the better of me. Silently, I presented Tracy with Simon's medical results. Don't worry, he can eat anything, and he doesn't have any attacks. The tests revealed that Simon was perfectly healthy, with no chronic diseases or allergies. However, he was found to be malnourished, his development was delayed, and there were several unnatural bruises on his body. According to the doctor, these results suggested that someone might be excessively interfering with the child, or even intentionally causing injuries to treat them. We had already discussed Tracy's overbearing behavior towards her child, Simon's testimony, and the medical findings when we were taken to the police station. The police took these facts seriously and were conducting further investigations. What you've been doing to the child, it's only a matter of time before it all comes to light. So, before this turns into a bigger issue, you should. I was startled when Tracy, who had been emotional up until a moment ago, suddenly turned expressionless, like a mask.
Do you believe that quack doctor over me, who has raised Simon for 6 years?
Tracy's voice sounded almost robotic, and it was eerie. Is this the end result of someone whose desire for approval has spiraled out of control? Do you want to keep him weak just so these people will say you're a good mother? I showed Tracy the screen of social media posts. A few days earlier, I had visited Simon's kindergarten for evidence gathering and had spoken with other mothers. They mentioned that Tracy frequently posted about her life with Simon on social media. When I saw the posts, everything clicked. On social media, Tracy portrayed herself as a saintly mother devotedly raising a son with serious illnesses and allergies. She seemed particularly popular among parents of children with similar conditions. She also did live streaming and solicited donations from her followers, calling them support funds. I don't understand much about social media, but using your child to create topics for your posts is not normal, is it? I sighed as I said this, and the mask-like face slowly began to show frustration.
You wouldn't understand, Janet. Here, everyone watches me. They're all nice to me.
Tracy grabbed the mobile device from me and began to gaze at it lovingly. With practiced ease, she navigated through several accounts, showing them off to us.
This person is a mother of 3 who manages both her job and her family. She's beautiful and capable. Don't you think she's amazing? This one's husband has a successful home-based business, and they go on family trips every month.
Wait, what are you talking about?
While all these people shine, why don't I have anything?
Tracy's face then turned sad, and she muttered with vacant eyes.
Waking up at the same time every day, doing household chores and taking care of children in the same room all day long, that's all I have.
What's wrong with that? That's admirable.
I'm telling you, it's boring.
I wished Tracy would wake up to reality. But it seemed that there was no stopping her now. After a deep sigh, I looked into Tracy's eyes once more. You used Simon for your own amusement.
The only people who praise me as a great mother are here. Nobody says anything when you just raise your child normally in the real world. Do you understand how empty that feels?
Even though she speaks of great mothers, we don't even know if their real lives are as glamorous as they appear on social media. All mothers are equally commendable, yet it seems she can't see anything anymore, which is just sad.
What's so empty about it? You just got a taste of being pampered and even getting money for it.
George, who had been silent until now, muttered this, and suddenly everyone turned to look at him.
He's my child. I gave birth to him, and I raised him all by myself. He's mine. I can do what I want with him, can't I?
Tracy began yelling at us, with her eyes bulging and face turning red, making it clear that the situation was getting out of control. I told George beforehand to avoid upsetting her as much as possible, since I anticipated this outcome.
You heard that.
Without paying any attention to the enraged Tracy, George pulled out his cell phone and said a word. From the speakerphone, we could hear Daniel's response. Actually, we had already contacted Daniel in advance. Almost simultaneously with George hanging up the call, the front door opened, and Daniel, furious, appeared. He had taken emergency leave and returned from his military base as soon as he heard about the commotion.
Why are you?
As soon as Tracy's eyes met Daniel's, her flushed face turned pale. Facing a tall man over 6 feet tall, glaring with anger, she looked like a frog being stared down by a snake.
Divorce me. I will seek custody and alimony,
Daniel declared, and we felt relieved to hear it. Tracy has always been overly indulgent with Daniel, but for the sake of his beloved son Simon, he had decided to take a stand this time.
Why? Everything was going so well until now. Wah.
Realizing she couldn't escape the worst outcome, Tracy literally started flailing and crying. I couldn't help but feel unbearable seeing a grown adult cry and say wah. I didn't say it out loud, but I discreetly made eye contact with her parents. Noticing my cue, they immediately called the police.
Tracy has always been like this. Whenever things don't go her way, she starts crying or gets angry and becomes uncontrollable.
They had told me over the phone. That's why we had all agreed, if this meeting turns unproductive, don't hesitate to call the authorities. Then Tracy approached George and me, looking up with tearful eyes.
Janet, George, I'm sorry. Please, let's end this here.
No joke, you were the one who slept instead of looking for him when he broke his bone. Because he had to walk, he might suffer from after effects. As if her life was ending, Tracy trembled and begged for forgiveness. But her life was just beginning from here. Although she pleaded with her parents and Daniel, no one was willing to save her. Swear you'll never approach Simon again. Unwilling to nod in agreement, Tracy was grabbed by the arriving officers.
Monster. Demon. Let me go.
Ultimately, Tracy continued to shout resentments towards us, without a single word of apology or reflection for the child. It's truly appalling that you didn't even ask about Simon's injuries. You should feel the weight of your sins. I told her as she was put in the patrol car, but she didn't look back. Afterward, Tracy was arrested for assault on Simon. According to her parents, this wasn't her first time dealing with the police. They've decided to cut ties with Tracy now. They've even sold their house and moved in with Tracy's siblings. Rumors spread quickly among her circle of mom friends, and her carefully curated social media accounts were eventually deleted by the administrators after becoming too chaotic. I can't understand why she would cling to social media to the point of losing her family and trust, things that are truly valuable. Daniel's divorce from Tracy was finalized without issue, and he won custody. He's still busy, so Simon lives with us when Daniel can't be home. Thankfully, Simon hasn't shown any lingering effects from his past hardships and is thriving without any unreasonable restrictions. Lately, he's shown a keen interest in George's work, often watching from hiding spots.
Don't hide there. Come and watch closely.
Every time he hears that, Simon rushes over to George with delight, eager to learn.